So, is Slytherin finally taking a page out of my book and starting to leak stuff to get people hyped up for the future? Yes, they are. Look at this picture. There's a lot to digest, and I'm going to go through it one by one. So don't worry, there's no rush. We will be getting through it. But yeah, what we've had is Edmund, who, is my best mate, share some little pictures with us. And I think it's about time that we do make a video. Yeah, that's the one I used for the thumbnail. Actually, there's one really important thing to note in the thumbnail. So this is an autonomous drone. By the way, these guys, they look very mercenary, don't they? In my opinion. Having beards is not allowed in the Russian army, but you are if you're a Chechen or maybe Wagner, a unit we should not talk about. Anyway, Russians have shotguns right here. That is something that's also very, very easy to miss if you just give this picture a quick look. That is obviously, if I'm not mistaken, an AK-12 with a bit of clipping issues with those magazines, but these obviously look like either reserves or a different type of unit altogether. It's also important to note that whilst this might be the standard loadout for is it the Uragan drone? Let me just double check myself, stand by. Yes, sorry, I had a quick look. That is, oh, there we go. That is indeed the Uran. Yeah, as we can see, some missiles. So I'm not 100% sure which one that is. It could be the Eagle. But back here, we see obviously the same vehicle. By the way, you can tell it's a drone because it's got cameras, not a driver's hatch. But the same vehicle, but with an entirely different loadout. And even the vehicle behind that, which is what that is, with a potentially different loadout as well, but it's not crystal clear in this picture. So they have been leaking some stuff up. One of the first units that we got is this, which is the Schwarzenberg's M6. Wait, I need to do it. Scharbors M6. Now, I'm fluent in Russian, but my pronunciation isn't always spot on. Here's the first leak of the Uran right here. As we can see, it's a slightly different setup to the one we saw in the other picture as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see how customizable it is. We've also got the Malva and the Gyatso, so basically two bits of faster moving, hopefully, Russian arty. Because, well, the Russian arty is fine, actually. Is this going to be the equivalent of the Brutus? Probably not, but it will have its own little kinks, I'm sure. Right, we're going to move up as well, or actually, yeah, to these pictures. Now, I've already talked about these pictures in depth, so we're just going to quickly, if my internet doesn't be super slow, which I think it's going to be, quickly skim through these pictures because we're already aware of these units. We already had a look in the trailers section, T72. By the way, look at that in the background again. Covered in a previous video. I'll link it in the link description below, where we've talked about all these pictures in depth. So like I say, my internet's being shit. I've got like 25 megabits per second download speed. It is difficult. But hey, if I can be a YouTuber whilst with that internet speed, anyone can. Cool. We've also got the little termite helicopter drones. Don't know why that picture loaded so quickly. Yeah, and obviously that's a shower of sidewinders coming on top of it. But what I wanted to talk about most about today is finally getting to see quite a range of other units finally in the game. So we're going to start off with some of the most obvious ones, or maybe not obvious to you, but the T-72A is the one that we just saw a second ago. And if you pan ever so slightly left, you'll notice that it is a different type of tank. And the nerds who play War Thunder won't struggle with this whatsoever, but that is the T-62M. So a lot of similarities with the tanks, of course. I mean, the Soviets just, if it's not broke, don't fix it, which is a really good attitude to have, to be fair. And they just basically do incremental, or, well, there's obviously substantial. Hey, I'm not a history teacher. Read about the history yourselves. But anyway, they are very similar looking on the outside, but there's a lot of differences that go into it. But the key takeaway here is the fact that essentially we're going to have a dirt cheap option coming up for Russia. Now, Russia already has the T-72 B 430 points. So how much are these downgrades going to be? Are we going to be looking at sort of 100 a tank, which wouldn't be too far off? A Sprut is obviously a dirt cheap tank, as is the M8 already, but these are going to be serious spam contenders. Now, in case you haven't guessed, by the way, The overarching theme of this sixth mystery specialization, which again I've covered months ago because it really wasn't hard to guess that it'd be Rosgvardia, which means Rosgvardia, I suppose is the more correct pronunciation, which is basically the Russian National Guard equivalent of America's. Obviously, if there's differences, there's similarities, but yeah, there's a lot to digest within this information. Another thing to consider, by the way, here's that drone, which is aiming because it's got ATGMs ready to fire those tanks. Another thing to consider is this little cheeky map in the background. Now, I don't really 100% know what it is. There are three maps that we know that are going to be coming up. One of which is going to be near St. Petersburg. It's called Kronstadt. It's basically a tiny island like Baltisk. I'm very much looking forward to that one because that's going to be a very, very tight but interesting tactical map. So we'll see how that plays out. We know that there's going to be a nuclear power plant, so another one, not like the Ignalina, but it's going to be a nuclear one that's again very close to St. Petersburg. I'm wondering if this is going to be the outskirts of it, and it's also interesting to see here a huge hill or mountain. Because I don't think units are going to be able to go up this mountain. It doesn't appear so. Obviously, very industrial by the looks of it. Plenty of those, old Soviet grain silos or, whatever they are. Plenty of ore, plenty of the industrial-looking buildings. And yeah, having a massive mountain. Now, obviously, I don't know if this is on the side or in the center of the map. Bit of oil. Uh, yeah. But either way, I think even if it's in the middle, that would be just a really unique and interesting map to look at. They should do maps with a big ocean in the middle or lake, yeah. Big ocean in the middle. A bit silly. Big lake in the middle, just because it would throw an interesting spanner in the works. So I'm quite excited to see what this map will look like, but so far it looks pretty cool. Very industrial, very workers' Soviet Republic, that game. Cool. Anyway, we've talked about some of these vehicles already. That's the Czech. Can't pronounce it. I'm also going to quickly move on in a second once we talk about the rest of the units about some of the other stuff that we've seen already. Right, I'm back. Sorry, I had to just quickly double check myself before I give you false information, or duff gen, as we'd say in military slang. Right, okay, what do we have here? These are the reserves. Now, they're already in game. They cost 40 points, and they're just a nice little unit. I think they've just updated the logo. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 men. That is as it is in the minute. And yeah, they're just going to be a nice, dirt cheap, spammy unit. In the game, as it stands, they've currently got a machine gun, rifles, and underbarrels. That's it. No RPGs or anything like that. They are the reserves. It makes a lot of sense. But they're going to be very, very, very weak indeed. Okay, moving on. These guys with the smaller AK, so AK-74U, I imagine, just like on Call of Duty Black Ops, yeah, you know it. Good little spray weapon. This is going to be a recon team, as you can obviously see depicted by the binoculars. And essentially, it's a three-man team. We've seen the thumbnail of it already. They had a German Shepherd in that thumbnail. Wait, let me make sure it appears on the screen right now. Yeah, German Shepherd, a beautiful dog. It's the dog I've got, actually. But yeah, we can see that that's not made it to the game. We don't have a Talk Dogs. It's not Rome Total War 2. And it's just three men instead. So they are going to be the Pogranitchniki, which means in Russian is basically the border guards. So yeah, the guys who just protect the borders. American equivalent? I don't think they have one. Well, obviously not in the same sense that the Russian military has. So yeah. And moving on to these guys. Now, this logo, I had no idea what it was because I've never seen it before. But I think it's the Spetsnaz arm of the Rosgvardia guys. So Rosgvardia, again, Russian National Guard, but they have a Spetsnaz, so a special forces kind of, a special purpose group, which is obviously these guys. It could just be the line infantry of Rosgvardia, and they've just decided to give it a super duper special forces cool looking logo. But I think the truth of the matter is it's probably just going to be a small little Spetsnaz team. Although, how many men do we count? I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it could just be the line infantry. We're not too sure about that at this stage. It actually would make a lot of sense because the Tempest which is the Russian sort of truck that you might have seen on Armor 3. I think that's going to carry 14 men. I think there's a good chance of that. So two of these squads make sense. They probably are just line infantry. When we look at the logo, let me just check there's nothing sensitive on here. No, just all my thumbnails and declaration. Yeah, well, I won't tell you what that's for. Yeah, this is the actual logo that somebody on my Discord found. Thank you very much for that. Спасибо. Отряд специального назначения. So, отряд is, Christ, is a section of this special purpose. So, yeah, Russian for spetsnaz, basically. Spetsnaz. Vityaz. That's going back to a bit of history that is basically like a knight. So Vityaz is it's similar to a knight. So that's what they've called themselves. Right. Okay. These are the units. So we've already Christ always. Yeah, we've talked about all of these, which is good. Happy days. That one's ticked. That one's ticked. Just before we go into all the other units that we definitely already know about. Look, this game is from like 2005 and they had heli fast roping. Why can't we have that in Broken Arrow in 2026? I don't know. Oh yeah, football. Yeah, Argentina won that one. Fair play. Cool. Yeah, this is a huge picture depicting lots and lots of units. Now this is blurry, so we're going to skip it because as you can see, a lot of the units have been ticked off. There's Delta, there's yeah, Booker, yeah. All these, oh yeah. Want to note is airborne sappers. Okay, but airborne snipers have not been ticked off. This is a much clearer picture where we basically just removed all the units that were added to the game and we've got the ones that we know there's files for them that exist already, but they're not in the game just yet. Now, BTR 97, that is a beautiful vehicle. It looks like a Ferrari of the armored cars. I really, really like that. This is essentially the same vehicle, but with a Strela on top of it, something that I would keenly look forward to using. We've already had the whatever, FSB, so Russian FBI, a sniper team from them. Obviously, it's more. They are used in the military, but it's more for counterterrorism and domestic use. But again, Rosguardia National Guard is a domestic organization. There we go, Rosguardia. So it is probably just a normal section, normal fire team squad. Okay, moving on. We've got these Gazas. Yeah, these Tigers. Gaz. There we go. Tiger. Essentially just a Russian Humvee. But this time it's also got AA, Cornets, machine guns, probably grenade launcher, and a scout vehicle version as well. So a really, really nifty unit. That's gonna. This whole battalion, by the way, is gonna massively benefit Russia. Russia is gonna get so much better when all of these units get added in. KA-50. Now, if you don't know the history, KA-50 is a predecessor to the KA-52. The difference being that in the KA-50, when they tested it, they only put one pilot in, who acted as the pilot and the gunner, and they thought that he'd be enough to handle everything because they had a lot of automation introduced to help the pilot in the cockpit with the workload. Also ejectable. By the way, KA-52, you can eject the pilots. Really cool feature. Wish it was in the game, but you can't. KA-60, that is basically an equivalent of the Dauphin, very, very similar in many ways. It's a good little transport helicopter. They're quite rare, though, that you don't see many of them. KA-226, now this is going to be a tiny little helicopter, as you can see, both with the dual main rotor design, counter-rotating, very, very useful thing. I think this is going to be more of an equivalent to the Little Bird, because these are meant to be tiny. This is another video, another version of the Tornado, but basically less shells. That's going to be 6, not 12. Kamaz, just like the big Euro. There's that Typhoon that I mentioned earlier, by the way. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Tochka, just like the TOS on the T-72 chassis, this is going to be on wheels, so it's going to be a lot quicker, a lot more effective in terms of moving to the battlefield and to the supplies. So I'm very much looking forward to using this. By the way, a lot of these units have been leaked in either the open beta, especially when it comes to the Tomcat, that 14. Talk to me, Goose. But this has been the thumbnail of this, and you know how the broken arrow thumbnails that I like to copy and paste for my own purposes, this has been a really nice thumbnail that I've not yet whipped out, I don't think, but I've been wondering, like, where is this in game? Marksman, I imagine this is going to be a nice, cheap little recon team for Russia. Again, this is going to be OP, like I keep saying. Expensive, budget. MI-24 already in the game, cool. MiG-31 going to be a super interesting unit because it's actually going to have the fastest speed, which, by the way, fair enough, it should. It can do Mach 3. It's an impressive aircraft, but very, very poor agility and turning circle, which again makes sense because it's designed as a bomber interceptor. It's not designed as an agile fighter. So yeah, I'm going to be very excited to see how this actually performs because it's going to be a very unique plane on the battlefield. That is basically the Typhoon VDV. That's already in game. Don't worry about that. Now, a pairing of the RPG-29s and a cord on a tripod. By the way, look, there's also a tripod for M240s, basically making it a bit more accurate and sustained fire. That's what tripods do. So interesting if this comes in. Panzer, this was in the trailers ages ago. Very excited to see this come in. Basically, a Panzer weapon system with the guns on top of a Kamaz chassis, as opposed to the Tunguska or the the snail, the coastal snail thing. Uh, yeah, this is going to be nifty. This is going to be excellent. Again, this entire deck looks just fantastic. Pograničniki, yeah, we've already got them. S300 and S400, so even more anti-air defense. Now, S400 is going to be an interesting one because it's going to be a Russian, I presume, could be wrong, but I'm usually right about these things. It's going to be terminal guidance. So it could be a one-shot terminal guidance. Now, that's not something we've seen in the game yet. I imagine to balance, they're going to make its range pathetic, but S400s in real life have a 40-kilometer range that they can down aircraft from, which is obviously really impressive. It is a good bit of kit, but I think for balance, it's going to be one-shot terminal guidance, with reduced range, so it's not going to be near the S300 level. Spetsnaz, now they've kind of kept quiet about these. There's not been too much about them. I got a feeling they're going to be in, maybe saving them for the release trailer. Fair enough, they're going to be interesting units. Alpha Group, oh sorry, we did see them in another league. Again, just look at my previous leagues. You will see these guys as a 14-man squad for Russia that can, with 50 cars potentially, which is going to be lethal. Uragan, again, like a Smerch, very similar. Yak 130, more of a training aircraft, but very interesting. And T62M. There's that logo that we just saw in the previous pictures. On the America side, well, we won't go into it because this is going to be part of America's Navy enhancement, no doubt. Because, yeah, Nighthawk. JLTVs, yeah, a bit of Special Forces, Navy SEALs, although they're kind of in the game already. Drone helicopter, and we've already seen woman snipers. I don't think that they're ever going to make it. Balloon is in the game, by the way. In editor, you can put up a balloon. It looks just like the one that China sent into America. Pretty funny. So yeah, there we go. Here's all the units that are going to be coming to us very soon. The big update is promised at the end of this month. Now, there's been so much hype about this already. I can't wait for this spec to drop. They did promise it'd be in the summer. Is it going to be part of their major update? It better bloody be. And that they can't wait to farm the money that's going to come out of all of these units because they are going to be fantastic. Borderline OP, and absolutely everyone who plays the game remotely is going to know to buy this DLC because it's just going to fit so many gaps in the Russian specs. It's just going to be sensational. I very, very, very much look forward to seeing this in action. KA-50, by the way, is probably in the game going to be almost as capable as the KA-52, but probably quite a fair bit cheaper. So yeah. If you hated Russia heli spam, if you hated Russia spam at all, because you've got literally the cheapest units possible, then you're going to be in for a rough time. And like I say, it's going to be a while till we get this stuff come out a lot later. Cool. I think that's everything. If you want a quick visualization of some of those units, I don't think this is actually going to happen. This, we've already seen, definitely will be. Here's the S400. Basically looks just like an S300. 500. I've never heard of that, but that's the symbol of the Russian Armed Forces or Ministry of Defense, whatever. There's that Panzer truck in real life. There's that Typhoon, which again I presume is going to have 14 men in the back. Ural Typhoon, that isn't going to make it. So yeah, two. Why are they both called Typhoon? God, not very creative with their names, are they? Really cool looking vehicle. I don't expect both of these to be in. They're probably going to save that for a future update. Here's that gas. Here's that gas. Here's that gas. Tigit. That's a 30mm cannon on top, by the way. It looks more like a space gun, but it's a 30mm cannon. Okay. Yeah, Special Forces, whatever. Here's the MiG-31. Beautiful plane. I think it's the first model aircraft I built as a kid. Maybe. Cool plane. Very cool plane. Here's the Yak-130. Tu-95 with the nuke. I sort of don't think it's going to come in. I just don't see it. And yeah, some ships. But these ships are obviously going to be Predator only. I don't think they're going to come in just yet either, even though it's a cool little heli transporter. Cool. Any questions? Let me know in the comments below, because we might have some gen for you, might have some info, but you never know. That's it from me. Hope you enjoyed watching this so much. I'm gonna get Starlink, which is gonna make my internet. Apparently it arrives tomorrow, but who knows? Yeah, interesting. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.